Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's a hot one here in Indiana today, in the garage, working on the fuel system on the 4000 Quattro. So we have a fuel pump, pre-filter, main filter, and also a few new brackets and mounts. So we'll get that done today. It is kind of Carlisle prep crunch time. The event's in about 20 days. So one thing I want to get done is getting these things replaced. So we have a hopefully a quattro fuel pump for the journey to Carlisle. So I'll show you the parts we got today. I'll do what I can to help film, kind of tight under there. So I'll bring you along and we'll see how things go. Let's get to it. All right, here we go. We got the main pump. It's a Bosch factory replacement pump. Bosch main fuel filter, OEM pre-filter, brackets for the fuel pump, and also a new clamp for the fuel pump. Also got a few new mounts for the fuel pump bracket and some small ones for the filter. So some of these parts are kind of tough to find, especially the pre-filter. I will say eBay is your friend. Use it. You will find amazing deals on there for things that people they don't know what they have. Everything else is purchased online, fairly easy to find. So if you got any questions, drop them down below. Help you guys out. All right, let's get started. Hey guys, stop. Before we get started, this is Mike from the future. I do want to go over some tools you might find helpful and necessary in performing this job. So let's see what we got on the floor here. Alright, this job is fairly simple in terms of not needing any specialty tools. You'll need your trusty, of course, 10mm socket here for the mounts for the filters, the small one and the main filter. I use the 19mm socket as well for the main bolts on the big filter. You also need 19mm as well if you want to do that part as well, and layout of the socket. 14mm, and then 17 is somewhere around here. You can't find that one. That's helpful for holding the threads on the filter itself. Long screwdriver is very handy, a Phillips head, for getting the mounting screws on the small filter loose, and the clamps as well. And then some channel locks if you don't have a wrench long enough or large enough to hold on to the other end of the fill filter to shock that loose. I would say it's got in the middle here my little helper for my ratchet. This thing is great for when you need some more leverage and you're in a tight spot. So I use this to get the main banjo bolt and the filter off. It did prove out to be very helpful. So if you don't have one of these, ask your friend to make one. They're very helpful, not for this job, but for other jobs as well. So far, that's what we need. But I just want to share with you guys what tools you're going to need to perform this job. If you guys have anything else that's helpful that's not mentioned here, feel free to toss it down in the comments so we all can learn from you. Alright, let's get back to it. Alright, we'll start the back here. You see I got the fuel line clamped off at the back. Work on the pre-filter first. Got a catch can here in case any gas drains out, so we'll be safe there. And one thing, I'll put a caveat disclaimer as well. Notorious for these, so I'm not a mechanic. This is my hobby, so use what I take at your own risk. Doing this for you guys is entertainment purposes only, so take it with a grain of salt what I do. Hopefully this is helpful in some way, so let's carry on. Alright, we got the pre-filter out. This took a bit longer than I thought. The only issue I had were these clamps here. You guys are pretty on there, so I ended up pulling the fuel pump inlet port here. Easier to wiggle the filter out. So got that all done. We'll clean up these clamps. I do have some new section hose I might put in here as well. Clean these clamps up. Then we'll move on to the pump and main filter. Alright, got the pre-filter in. All tightened up, cinched up, cleaned up. Looks great. So now let's move on to the pump, new bracket, and the fuel filter. Alright, instead of going after the new filter first, I opted to pull down the whole pump first. Since the old bracket's pretty fragile and I gotta get this off, I brought down the accumulator too to make things easier. So we'll clean everything up. But first, let's get this off, clean the area up here, and we can start installing our new parts. Let's get to it. Alright guys, we got the pump out. That was fairly easy. These guys came out pretty simple, the connectors. What was not easy was this end cap here, which sits on the end here of the check valve. Got that off, but found that the line here that goes from the pump to the accumulator was not the best shape. So I'll have to wait till tomorrow to get to the parts store to find a replacement. While I'm in there, I'll clean everything up here. We'll also replace this line from the filter to the accumulator as well, so we'll be good there for many miles to come. So for now, I'm just going to clean up the accumulator, probably get the new fuel pump bracket installed and everything else cleaned up, and then we will resume when we get a new hose. Seems dry. We'll give it a jump. Looks good. All right, you guys hopefully just heard the car fire up after getting all that stuff replaced. I'll admit that after last night with the battery being kind of dead, my charger being dead too, I charged it for a while. My charger, it was about midnight. I saw it was done, so I came out here and gave the car a rip. It started after a few attempts, so what you saw was, the day after the real start, but I was getting kind of anxious, so definitely want to check, see if there are any leaks, and how the car ran. So car runs good, as you can hear, really responsive. New pump seems much quieter than my old one. I realized 4,000 pumps are loud anyway, but this one has some abnormal noises from it from the get-go since I got the car, so good to get this replaced. And overall, I mean, car seems to run good. I'll get things cleaned up around here. Take it for a test drive pretty soon. Give it some more gas. It's about a quarter tank, and then we should be good to go. In terms of where I'd rate this on the difficulty level, it's fairly simple. Some tips I would kind of toss out there are: be prepared to replace some of the fuel lines into there. This is a West Coast car from Oregon, and it was pretty clean underneath. But the lines that go from the pump to the accumulator and the accumulator to the filter are very thin plastic. I'm not sure what it's made out of, but very easily tweakable. If you get a wrench on there and try to loosen one of those banjo fittings, you'll be in to replace the lines. So I recommend doing that anyway. And a tip for that, some helped me out actually. Make sure the fuel line you get is rated for CIS. I got way over 80 psi minimum for the line pressure, so make sure you do that as well. The job itself, fairly simple. Just with up on jack stands, underneath the car is kind of difficult sometimes, moving around and getting stuff situated. But very easy. Pre-filter, pump bracket, pump clamp, and main filter and lines. All we got done here. So fairly simple. I recommend doing it if you haven't done it before. This is my first time actually doing pump and the pre-filter on any Audi I've owned. I've owned about 10 of them. So I've done the main filter on these cars before. That's pretty easy. I just got to work on getting the large banjo bolt loose, which trying to find something else to hold on to is kind of challenging. When I did it with this car, I used some channel locks with a towel, and even that kind of dug into the filter itself, the filter housing itself. So I'd recommend this proper size wrench. I think it's over 22, 23. I think that's the correct size. But that might make your life a bit easier if you're going to do this. So yeah, so we're done here. Going to carry on. But yeah, this is actually a pretty easy job, and I recommend it if you haven't done it yet. I guess one last thing I will say is that, I think some of the 4000s, when you turn the key on, you hear the pump prime. This car's never done that for me. The white 4000 I did before I did the turbo swap did, but this car's ran fine. Wasn't worried about that, but thankfully last night before the battery took a crap, I did hear the pump when the car was about shut off. I did hear the pump pumping and sat quiet, so that's a good thing. So so wrap this one up. Moving on to the next project. Hopefully, car allows in a few weeks. Cutting it very close with the car, so we'll see what I get done beforehand. I don't want to rush anything, guys. So if I don't get a few things before the show, no, that's fine. I still got the rest of summer, rest of August and September to get it done, as long as into the winter months. But we'll keep you guys updated on Instagram, Mike's Virtual Garage. Be sure to follow me there for updates before they come on YouTube. But aside from that, we'll keep going. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll see you later. Thanks.